In the last 8 years, Dave Grohl has established the Foo Fighters as one of the most popular and critically rated rock bands in the world. In a business famed for having no second acts, it's an amazing achievement, because the band Dave was in before were called Nirvana. They were a band it shouldn't have been possible to follow up, but Dave, with bandmates Taylor Hawkins, Nate Mendel and Chris Shiflett, has done just that. From their eponymous debut in 1995, through The Colour and the Shape in 97, There Was No One Left to Lose in 99, to this year's exquisite One by One, Foo Fighters' albums have just gotten better and better, winning Friends and Grammys with ease. Dave has always been a songwriter, and it has been said his story has given drummers everywhere a reason for optimism. His story starts in Ohio in 1969. Born to academic parents, Dave got into music first by playing Beatles covers, before progressing to his cousin's punk rock collection and his first real band, the Washington, D.C. punk rock outfit, Scream.
I think maybe just music itself seemed kind of like some kind of puzzle or some sort of challenge. It's just interesting to me, always, ever since I was a kid. I used to do this thing with tape decks where there was a stereo in the house, and then I had a boom box, and I would record a guitar line on the boom box and then put that tape in the stereo so that it was playing back over the speakers, and I'd get another cassette and put that in the boom box and sing to the guitar sound that was coming out. So then you'd have 2 tracks, and then you'd put that in the stereo, put a blank cassette in and you just keep swapping tapes, and then you'd put like a drum track on it. And I think I was like 10 or 11 when I did that.
I'd love to hear some of those.
Yeah, those are great. I started playing guitar when I was about 10 or 11. And then I was just in a band, and the drummer wasn't really that good, and I had figured it out and asked maybe if I could play the drums, and he switched over to bass, and it's pretty simple. But just because, not for any reason, just because the drummer wasn't really that good, so I had to maybe try to make the band better. Well, it never really seemed like a feasible career direction. It was always just kind of for fun. Still is. But when you're a kid and you're learning to play guitar, you don't really do it as some sort of trade. You're just having a good time with it, and and then playing in local punk rock bands or neighborhood cover bands. It's just sort of for fun. It's funny to be here now and to see where it's taken us, just because it just I never imagined being in a big rock band. It was just kind of weekend fun. Well, when Nirvana was over, yeah, I mean, there were 2 things to do. There were a few things. I could have just stopped, or I could have gone and played drums with another band, but I was young and it didn't seem like I had much to lose, really. I thought I'd just try something new, and I'd always demoed songs for fun, and went down the street to a studio close to my house and recorded some more songs for fun, and it turned into the first Foo Fighters record. So, but it was really just because I'd never done anything like that before, and didn't think it'd be a big deal, just thought it would be a nice way to continue making music. The only people that ever made it feel stressful or made it feel like there was any sort of pressure was everyone else, doing interviews or I mean, all of my friends and family were really supportive, and we were having a really good time. I think everybody else felt a lot weirder about it than we did. Well, the first gigs were fun.
They were great. God, we were so excited to be doing it. Happy to be playing, It was just, Dave had done that tape, and it was so good, and everybody in the band was cool. I'd known William before, and Pat was just a maniac. He was fun to play with, and so it was just a really exciting, fun time.
First record wasn't really a band record, and it always seems to me like it's such a bizarre foundation for a band, just some demo tape that we kind of used as an excuse. I mean, we figured okay, well, here's what we'll do. We'll learn these songs, and we immediately started writing new songs like My Hero or Enough Space. Those came pretty quickly after we started jamming together.
Early Foo Fighters lineups changed rapidly, but gradually a core was established, with Nate Mendel on bass after the first album and Taylor Hawkins on drums after the second.
The first Foo Fighters record, this is funny. This is a funny story. I've told this before. I was driving down the street with my brother, and this is all due respect to Atlantis. I was driving down the road with my brother, and the first Foo Fighters single had come out. This Is a Call, and I think we were listening to either we were listening to the CD right when it first came out, or the song on the radio. And my brother said, and we loved it automatically. And my brother said, "That's the band you should be in right there, dude." I said, "Yeah, I wish." And I just met Dave a couple times, and we just really, automatically clicked as friends, But we didn't really keep in touch or nothing. We just saw each other here and there, different things, MTV Awards and stuff like that. And when it came time they needed a drummer, Dave first asked me if I knew a drummer, the asshole. And
I just figured that you were playing in that huge band. You wouldn't want to, bring it down a notch.
Well, I was happy to. Yeah, and then Dave came over and we jammed, and then I jammed with the whole band and been there ever since.
With so many lineup changes taking place, it wasn't until the third album, There's Nothing Left to Lose, that the band could really go into the studio as a band.
The second record, that was our first time in the studio with each other, and it was tough for us. It was the first time I'd ever worked with like a producer. Gil Norton was the first person that ever came in and, really made you work on your music and your performance. And I'd never gone through anything like that before. So that was a crazy experience. But I think Nothing Left to Lose, the record that came out in 1999, that seemed like the first real band experience for us, just because we built the studio in my house in Virginia. It was very laid back, and it was more about writing songs and playing together and establishing each of our place in the band, just sort of, getting into the composition and arrangement and finding out what kind of players and what kind of band we really are. I think that album is that was the first real band record. So, and each one to me, it seems like they all progress and they all sort of make sense, The first album being this demo tape that was recorded in 5 days. The album after that, we decided to produce like crazy, really go in and work on it and make it a produced rock record. And then the third record was sort of a response to that, just in that we wanted to go into the basement and, make some songs, and really simple. And the songwriting's evolved, and the videos, there's always the videos, lots of videos to be made.
At this point, it should have been plain sailing for the Foo Fighters, but the recording of the new album got off to the worst possible start when Taylor fell into a 2-day drug-induced coma.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. I mean, obviously, I was just, I don't know, I was asleep.
He wasn't there.
I mean, there was a little bit of abandonment issues, maybe, a bit. But, luckily, with the benefit of hindsight, you realize that it was the best thing for all of us, because it gave all of us time to go, we all went and did our own things, less high profile, but we all did go do our own things and got our heads together. And in all honesty, I don't think I was ready to make the record. And I don't think we had the right idea of what we wanted to do at that point anyways, I think it wasn't until we made something that we didn't like. Sometimes it takes doing something completely the wrong way to and this is the way my life has been since I was a child. It takes completely going the wrong way, to get to the right way, And with this record, I think, there was parts of it because I wasn't ready, I wasn't physically ready, My body had been through a lot of damage and stuff, and once we finally figured out that, we didn't like the way we were recording the record. We didn't like the production techniques we were using and the technical stuff in the studio and the laboring over the song structures to a certain degree. Like it wasn't exciting sounding. And that had to do with a lot of things. And my physical health was maybe slightly one of the things, but it was lots of different things.
For Dave, the answer to their in-studio problems was to put down his guitar and head off on the road, as drummer in Queens of the Stone Age.
For me, it worked out all right, just because I went out and played the drums for the first time and in a long time, had a blast. Queens of the Stone Age are a great band, and it's a drummer's band. Their music's just really fucking fun to play when you're a drummer. So I had fun, but I mean, you know, it didn't take long before I missed Foo Fighters, the music and the people, and how lucky we are to have what we have. And so that was one of the things that really recharged my batteries, was just, you know, taking a big picture, taking a good long look at what I just walked away from.
Well, the break was a little rough because we just had such a hard time making the record, and ultimately it didn't turn out the way we wanted it. And so wanted to get right back in there and make it work and get it finished. And we just couldn't have done it. The only way that we could have finished it is by taking that break. So it was hard, but had to deal with it. And
it was a pretty short break, too.
It really wasn't all that long.
It really wasn't that long. It was a couple months.
few
It was
months.
3 or 4 months. I mean, when we went back to record it, we recorded it in a week and a half. You know, it gave us a sense that we were lucky to have this band, and we can have fun recording the music. You know, I've always had a hard time recording, you know, but once we finally got to just brass tacks and said, well, this is all the time we have. Let's get this done right now. Let's just fucking do it. And let's have fun doing it. And we recorded it like that, like nothing, like it was nothing.
Well, you have to imagine that we do this because we love to do it. And there's sometimes when it seems like a lot of work, and there's sometimes when it seems like more than just fun. But when you get to
It's never
place,
the playing that ever feels like that either.
Yeah,
It's
no,
it's
the
never
best
playing
parts-
music that feels like that. It's the traveling, you know, and you get tired. You get
Sometimes
tired.
you gotta take a nap.
Yeah, I guess. You know, you get tired, and you know, that's the work. The work is traveling and stuff, but the playing is the best part, without a doubt.
But above everything, you have to consider your priorities to be realistic. Like, the most important thing is that everyone's happy, everyone's healthy, we all remain friends, and you know, it's a lot more human than any of this. It's just kind of, you know, I don't want to die doing this. I don't want to ruin my life for rock and roll or whatever, because it's just not that important to me. And I love playing music, but there are other things that are a lot more important. So when something kind of brings everything to a halt, it makes you stop, take a good look at what you're doing, and think, okay, well, really the most important thing is that everybody's happy and healthy, and got to keep that into consideration. Taylor and I were listening to the mix as we were mixing that song, and someone had mentioned that it was going to be the first single. So we just sort of came up with this idea, oh, well, maybe we should do, at first we actually were considering a hijack situation, which fortunately we never did. But we wanted Tenacious D to be these hijackers, and for us to be different characters on the plane and then save the plane from the hijacking.
It's nice it didn't go that way.
Yeah, I'm glad that didn't happen. Although I've heard that Learn to Fly eventually got banned from some radio stations after 9/11, which doesn't really make that much sense.
One by One is the Foo Fighters' fourth album, and by common consent, the best to date. 2 months drumming with the Queens of the Stone Age seems to have paid off.
Well, I think our new record's the best one we've ever done. And I say that after every record just because I think that we're getting better. But to me, it's just it's simplified in a way. It's just all of the elements of the band we've had from the first record. I mean, there's heavy rock songs on it. There's an emotional quality that's run through every one of our albums, and this sense of melody, but this time it's all amplified and it's just sort of simplified. It just, you know, it's not cluttered up with tons of production or layers of guitars. The lyrics are really stripped down, and we do the same thing every album, where before we release it we say we're not going to tour as much as we did last time because it was too brutal, and we don't have this world domination state of mind. We're just kind of going out to play some shows. It's what we do best. We just go play some shows. And then it's inevitable. Every time it happens, we get on the road, and after like a year, you kind of go, oh my God, what are we doing? Life is passing us by. What are we doing here? And then you go home, and after sitting around for 2 months, you don't know what to do with yourself all day long. So you get back in the studio and you start playing. And all of a sudden you got another record, and all of a sudden people want you to go on tour. And it's really fun. I mean, I'm fucking knackered right now. Like, I am so tired. I've been tired for fucking a month now. But I swear, once you walk up on stage, it kind of goes away. And you see all of those people singing at you, and you playing the songs, and it's, you know, you get to celebrate every day. That's pretty great.
Cried after every gig, didn't you?
I'm really doing it, Nate. I'm really fulfilling my careerist dreams.
Being in one all-conquering rock group is generally quite enough for most people. 2 consecutive groups really is something else. There's no sign of an end just yet.
Well, making music can last forever, you know. Playing the game and going on tour and doing a bunch of press and, you know, interviews and stuff like that. You don't have to do that. You can make music in your basement for the rest of your life and no one ever know. So I know I'll make music forever, but how long we wind up playing the game, it's like, who knows?